open after this for you to get started to review for your tests. Test is on Thursday. All right, in this first graph here, we are looking for the mean and the standard deviation. So we need to identify what is the mean and what is the standard deviation. So based on this information here in this graph, what is the mean going to be? 100. How did you know? It's in the middle. Good. So X bar is always in the middle there, our mean. Okay, and then for our standard deviation, we're looking what we're counting by. So if we're not sure, we can subtract. We just subtract any two numbers that are next to each other. So I can do like 115 minus 100. What's 115 minus 100? 15. So as I go to the right, we're adding 15s. And as I go to the left, we are subtracting 15. So our standard deviation is 15. Okay, so we're going to answer the question now, what percent of the data is less than 85? So this one kind of has to do with what we talked about yesterday. But what we talked about yesterday was the 68, 95, and 99.5 rule, or 99.7 rule. There you go. I was getting my 5s and 7s mixed up. 68, 95, 99.7. And that was from the mean, and it would be going in either direction. This time, I want less than 85. So I want just these numbers smaller than 85. So this is where those little numbers that we wrote in are going to take place. So remember, the middle was 68%. So it was 68 divided by 2. 68 divided by 2. 34, so we had 34% and 34%. It's symmetrical, so remember it matched. Okay, take a look back to yesterday. What's the next one going to be? Together it made 95%, but what was the percent in the columns? 13.5. 13.5. And then the next column, remember, it gets smaller as we go, but now as we look at overall, it's 99.7%. So this is 2.35, 2.35, and then in our last ones was just 0.15. I'm writing these sideways because I can't write small enough to write them normal. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways just so you can read them a little bit better. All right, so as I take a look at less than 85, I'm going to use my one highlighter for this one. So less than 85, I'm going to take 85 and I want to go less than. So I want to incorporate all this on the left side. So to find that customized percent, we're going to add those three parts together. Hi, here, if you want this. Okay, so we're going to do the 13.5 plus is 2.35 plus 0.15. So these numbers are going to be important if you didn't write them down yesterday. If you didn't do notes yesterday for some reason, these are really important numbers. You do need to know those on the test. Okay, those numbers are not given to you on the test. So 13.5 plus 2.35 plus 0.15, and our answer is 16%. We're going to do one more with this one before I go to the next. Okay, we're going to ask what percent of the data is between 100 to 130. So this is where I'm going to use my second color. So if you used a highlighter and there's not another highlighter, switch to a colored pencil quick. Or if you have one and your neighbor has one, switch real quick. Okay, we're doing 100 to 130. So as I look from 100 to 130, I'm looking for the in-between. So this time it's just those two parts, those two distances, two standard deviations. So I'm going to add the 34 plus 13.5. And we get 47.5%. All right, last one here. As we take a look, first thing we're going to do when we read this is decide from our number line what is our mean and what is our standard deviation. Remember, mean is the same thing as x bar. And standard deviation is just asking what are we counting by. So where is that mean located in the curve? The middle. So what number is our middle number? 36. Okay, now for standard deviation, we're just figuring out what we're counting by. I like to try and just find the easiest one to look at. Some people just prefer to do subtraction. So if we were just going to subtract, we could do 43 minus 36, or we could do 36 minus 29, or 29 minus 22. Okay, any of those, as long as we subtract, would work. So I'm just going to write 43 minus 36. That's how we could find it. Or what I would look at is that this final one, 50 to 57, 50 plus what is 57? Seven, right? Am I crazy in thinking that was easy? Okay, so it should be counting by sevens. 43 plus 7 is 50, 36 plus 7. Okay, so as we go to the right, we're adding 7. As we go to the left, we're subtracting 7. All right, last question here. We're going to solve this in two ways. Okay, we're going to ask ourselves what percent of the data is greater than 29. Okay, so again, if you just want to kind of copy those percents down, we're really looking for greater than 29. So as I take a look, 29 is here, and I'm looking for greater. So do I want to go right or left? We would go right. Yep. So we're going to find the area of this shaded region here. Okay, what's nice is we already had those numbers written down, so I'm just going to kind of look up and down. Copy those numbers again. So we have 30. I'm just going to write these ones that are in that green. So 34, 34, 13.5, 2.35, and 0.15. That's always going to be, when we have a normal curve, those numbers are always the same. It doesn't matter what our mean is, what our standard deviation. Our standard deviation is based on that idea that these are going to be the percents. So one way to do it would be to add individually all those numbers. So 34 plus 34 plus 13.5 plus 2.35 plus 0.15. If you're doing this, I suggest doing it in Desmos because it's going to be an easier way if you make a mistake to go back and erase, as well as that's the one that you get to use on your computer. So 34 plus 34 plus 13.5 plus 2.35 plus 0.15. And our answer ends up being 84. Another way you could have thought about it is when I'm looking at half the graph. So if I look at 36, anything bigger than 36, that's half the graph. What percent is half the graph?
50.
50. So I could have taken that 50, and how much more than half did we need to go? An extra 34. So we could have just done 34 plus 50 for half the graph. Either way, still equals 84. Okay, so if you want a second way of doing it, you can write that down. If you're like, nope, just tell me one way to do it, I'm going to just always add those small numbers together, and I'm going to get the same answer. Either way, same thing. Congratulations. You guys completed notes for intermediate algebra. We're done with notes forever.